Well, hello everyone. So today I am very, very excited. We are going to be talking everything to do with bridesmaids. I get lots and lots and lots of inquiries about bridesmaids, what they should be doing, what types of dresses they should be wearing. Should they all be the same? They be different? I often get bridesmaids actually asking me questions as well about what they should be doing for the bride. So today I hope to answer most of those questions, if not all. So let's get going. I suppose most of the time I see bridesmaids, 99.9% of the time, bridesmaids are really, really, really helpful on a wedding day, from the morning time right up until, I'm leaving that evening, no matter what time that is. And it's great when you have bridesmaids who are really, really helpful, but occasionally, and I have to be honest, because I am very honest, you might come across a bridesmaid who is not so helpful. And that is not great, so I would always sort of say, be very, very careful who you're choosing to be with you on your wedding day. So here are a few of my tips. Choosing your bridesmaids. Make a list of the people that you feel closest to, like best pals and family members. Don't just ask people to do the job as soon as you get engaged, because that's another thing that happens, a bride and groom or, a couple get engaged and next of all it's like, will you be my bridesmaid? Will you be my bridesmaid? Over the glasses of Prosecco. You really do need to have a long think about who you're going to ask to be with you on your wedding day, because it's not just about who's going to be around you on your wedding day. It's about the lead up to the wedding day as well. And you want to make sure that the people that are going to be around you make you feel good, because it is your wedding day after all. It's one of the most important days in your life. How many bridesmaids to have? Like, I get asked this quite a lot of the time. And the first thing I would say to you would be, look at your budget first, because money does come into it. Because when you think about having 6 bridesmaids or 5 bridesmaids, you need to think about, can you afford them? There's things to think about, like their dresses for one, hair, makeup, tan, bouquets, and a gift that you might want to give them. So all of that does add up. So just have a serious think about your budget and then decide how many bridesmaids you want to have on your wedding day. I have photographed huge, big bridal parties in the past. I have had one wedding who had 8 bridesmaids, which is a lot of people to photograph. And it can be a little bit challenging, 8 bridesmaids. And, especially if you've got 8 groomsmen as well and the bride and groom, like that's a lot of people. And something that, one thing rather that a couple wouldn't think about would be if you've got 8 on one side and 8 on another and the couple in the middle. If you're thinking about, putting that image into a frame, it's a very long shot. So I can't have it, as a lineup, so to speak. I have to, maybe sit some people down. So there's a little bit of organisation around it. Not saying I wouldn't take on a wedding with 8 bridesmaids again. I would, of course, but just, have a think before you start asking the whole road to be a bridesmaid. This is a question that I get asked quite a bit. Do I have to ask somebody to be my bridesmaid because they asked me to be their bridesmaid? And the simple answer to this is absolutely no, you do not. I had one bride actually, where I did her wedding a couple of years ago, and she said, oh no, I was a bridesmaid, and she keeps talking about, when I'm your bridesmaid, and she said, I just can't have her in the bridal party because, and she gave me her reasons. So I just said, take her out for a drink, go and have a meal, have some time with her. And talk to her about why you're not asking her to be a bridesmaid. And if she's a good friend, she'll understand. She might be a little bit off, but just have a chat with her. And she did, and all was well on the wedding day. So I always, even say to my kids, sometimes the thought of something is worse than the thing itself. Nearly like when you're going for a job interview, the thoughts of it are awful sometimes, but actually the interview goes fine at the end. It was just kind of the run up to it. So she was absolutely fine on the day. How do I ask them to be bridesmaids? This is really exciting, you know. So you've decided, okay, that's who I want to have on the wedding day. And that's who I want to have around me in the lead up to it. So it is very, very exciting. And I have a few ideas about how to ask them. Uh, like give them a personalised gift is a lovely thing to do. They're not expecting to be asked, and here you are giving them a personalised gift. So what could that be? You could give them pajamas or PJs with their name, pardon me, embossed onto them, and you could have like a lovely personalised card in with the PJs, and that's just a lovely, lovely way. And those PJs they might decide to wear on the wedding day, which is lovely because I get lovely photographs of that. You could also buy them like a proposal box with spa themed goodies in it as well. Again, with a lovely little card. We get a lot of wedding candles, the Jenny McCarthy wedding candle being bought, and you can personalise that as well on top. So there are lots of ideas about how you can ask your bridesmaids to be your bridesmaid for your wedding day. Your bridesmaids can also be men. This is something that you need to think about. You know, if you've got a guy who is a bestie, there's no reason why you can't ask him to be a bridesmaid. I have photographed a lot of bridesmen over the years. Recently, I had a wedding where my bride had 3 brothers, and they were her team on the day. They were her 3 bridesmen, and what an amazing idea. Like, she grew up with these 3 boys. She's the only girl in the family, and the lads were there for her on the day. And it was just so special on the morning because I had the entire family around getting ready. The lads even got their hair done. It was brilliant. It was just so refreshing. So it's absolutely okay to ask one of the lads to be a bridesman. Maid of honour expectations, and for the rest of the bridal party, what are they supposed to do? Well, you'll want your bridal party to handle, I suppose, various tasks around the wedding and have good attitudes too. That's very, very important. It's your day and you want to make sure that they're happy to do the tasks that you're asking them to do. But I would also say, don't ask them to do too many things either, because you don't want them to feel like, this is a job that they have to do. And you don't want them to have a negative attitude around anything. You want them to be as positive as or for them to feel as positive as you're feeling. So there are a few little things that you would want them to do, or, that they might want to do as well. So organising the hen party is definitely one of the tasks that they have to do. Task probably is not the best of words, but anyway, one of the things they have to do. Helping choosing the wedding dress with you. Now, I had Paula King, who is a bridal designer, in here a few weeks ago, and we talked about who to bring with you when you're choosing your wedding dress. And we did say, bring somebody who you really are very, very close to. And an awful lot of the time, that is your mum. And if it's not your mum, it's, either your closest sister or sisters or a best friend. Don't bring 7 or 8 people with you, but definitely bring the bridesmaids to have a look at the dress when you've chosen it, to show them what the wedding dress is like. Now, the other side of that is, I would often get brides who, they're getting dressed on the morning and nobody has seen them in the wedding dress other than the mother or a sister, and they want to surprise their bridesmaids with the wedding dress, and that's absolutely fine too. So whatever you choose to do is perfect. Supporting you with the wedding nerves, because it is a very nervous time for couples getting married. I think especially for the women, because typically, and don't mean this as a sexist remark at all, a lot of the time the women do a lot of the organising, and that is definitely the truth, because I'm doing this now 20 years and I've photographed thousands of weddings at this stage. So women do an awful lot of the organising. It's very seldom do I see one of the men coming into my studio with like a lever arch folder. A lot of the time it's the women, and then they would fill in the men, as to kind of what has been organised. I mean, I would often see at the top of the aisle, the singer singing, whoever they've hired, and, the groom saying to the bride, they're amazing. She's put a lot of work into choosing these. So yeah, supporting you with the wedding nerves. We just spoke about that. Helping with other planning. Sometimes, the invites or the ceremony booklets are handmade by the bride and the groom or the couple. And you might want a hand, sticking things on, or putting the invites into envelopes, and an awful lot of the time you would have sort of like a stamp, those kind of stamps that you put on outside the envelope, and all of those things take up time. And if you have your team around you helping you, it can be a lovely time as well, and you can have a little glass of prosecco too. Do I have to have an even number of bridesmaids and groomsmen? Your bridal party does not need to look balanced in your photographs. And that is coming from me, who is a professional photographer. I would always say to my couples, choose who you want to be by your side on the wedding day. Like last week, I was doing a wedding and we had a best man on the groom's side and we had 3 bridesmaids on the bride's side. And so that's an uneven number. And were the photos looking unbalanced? The photos were fabulous, So I would always find a way to make the photographs look amazing. And composition is a big thing when it comes to photography. And I would always compose the shots in a really nice way and make them look fab. So please don't worry about how balanced or unbalanced your photographs will look. It's about having, the people that you're closest to around you on your wedding day. Before, I suppose, you ask the bridesmaids to be your bridesmaid, have a think about their availability. It's really important to think about that, because sometimes you might have a bridesmaid whose job is, quite challenging, and they may have very little time. They may be pregnant. They may not want to be a bridesmaid because they're pregnant. Now, I do photograph an awful lot of bridesmaids who are pregnant. I'd say out of 10 weddings, I could have 4 or 5 weddings where there's a pregnant bridesmaid. But sometimes pregnancy, like it doesn't, not that it doesn't suit everybody. Some people can be I was quite sick on my kids when I was pregnant, and I definitely wouldn't have wanted to have been a bridesmaid because that thought of having to run out and be sick or whatever. So for whatever reason, they may not be able to take on the job as a bridesmaid. So don't be offended if they say, do you mind if I don't? Because there's a very, very good reason why they're saying no. It's not because they don't want to, it's because they can't. So please don't be offended. Do you have to ask this person to be a bridesmaid? We just talked about that a second ago. Like I said, the people that you have in your life and that you want around you on the wedding day are the ones that should be there. Sometimes you might have a sister or sisters that you don't get on with, and you definitely don't want them to be a bridesmaid. Don't ask them, because if they give you drama on a daily basis, they'll definitely give you drama coming up to your wedding. Definitely don't ask them. You don't have to ask them because they're your sister. Friends who are not bridesmaids. So in an awful lot of the cases, when it comes to weddings, you would have a bride who has lots of different friends, and you could have like a group of school friends, a group of college friends, a group of home friends. I see all these lists sometimes on shot lists that I get. I don't love a huge, big, long shot list because sometimes it just takes over the day and the couple don't get any time for the drinks reception. But that's another day's story. Friends who are not bridesmaids, give them a job, give them another job. There's so many other jobs to do on a wedding day. If they play music, if they play an instrument, if they are a good singer, get them to do something like that in the church. Get them to play an instrument, get them to sing a song. And I said, if they play music or if they do sing, please don't ask them to get up and sing if they're not good at singing. I've seen that before and it's a bloody disaster. Readings are really important. You'll have if you're getting married in a church, you'll have a first reading, a second reading. You can have 5 or 6 people doing prayers of the faithful. Get them to do something like that. One of the things that I think is absolutely essential on a wedding day, and it very rarely gets done. So when you arrive to the church door and you're standing outside, you're having photographs taken. And this is particularly an issue when it comes to the church, okay? So the doors are closed so that we can get some photographs outside. And once we're ready to walk up the aisle, then the doors get open. that's an issue because you've got bridesmaids standing around with, bouquets in their hands. If you don't have a sacristan down the end of the church, which you don't always have a sacristan, down at the end of the church door, you get somebody, one of your friends, to come out and open the doors when the doors need to be opened and lay out your dress at the back. So the bridesmaids always walk up first and then the bride walks up last with whoever's walking her up the aisle. And like in my case, so I would have Amy, who assists me at weddings. She would go upstairs to the gallery to get a shot of the bride walking up the aisle from the back, and I'm up the top photographing her walking up the aisle. So, if the bridesmaids are in front of her, sometimes it can be quite difficult to lay out the dress. So get your pal, one of your closest pals, to do that really important job for you, because opening the doors and laying out your dress are really, really important. And then closing the doors once you're up the aisle. Now, there's one thing to think about here. Sometimes when I'm shooting down the aisle and you have late comers, if you're a guest, don't be late to the wedding. If they're getting married at 10 to 1, be there at the latest 5 to 1, because with my couples, my bride is generally always on time for the church. So if you're a guest, be on time. But sometimes with the latecomers, they're in the back of the shot. So if my bride and her dad walking up the aisle, and then you've got these heads in the back, and I'm thinking, Janie, get out of the shot. So if your friend is laying out your dress, get her to just go to the side while you're walking up the aisle. And once you've been given away at the top of the aisle, then close the doors. The other thing about the doors at the end of the church, and I'm sorry now to be going on about this, when you're walking back out of the church or back out of the ceremony, those church doors or those ceremony doors need to be open. And Amy's great with me. So when the bride and groom are walking back out of the church, I would just say to her, don't bother shooting from the top. I need the doors open. So she'll go down, she'll have the doors open for me, which is great. And I get a shot as they're walking past me in the ceremony door. And she might be outside getting a photograph of them, outside walking out. So Amy's great. She does it for me. But most of the time, that does not happen. The doors don't get opened, and it's a bit of a nightmare for the photographer because they're trying to take photographs and they can't be opening the door because they're going to miss a moment. So get your friend to do that. Rounding up family members and friends for professional photos, like you've no idea how important that job is. You'll often be at a wedding and you won't see the bride and groom all day long because they're out having photographs taken. Now, sometimes some photographers just take an awful long time to take photographs, but an awful lot of the time somebody has gone missing and they don't know where to be, and there's a brother in at the bar and a sister outside, with her pals, and they're not together. So if there is a plan in advance for photographs, just let your friend know or your friends know and just say, can you just make sure that these people are here when we get back to the hotel or back to the wedding venue, because we're going to need them for photographs. That's a massive job, and it really will help the photographer, but it will also give your bride and groom lots of time at their drinks reception, and that's what they will want to. Here's a big one: helping to bustle up your dress at the end of the night. So when the bride has been going around all day, the dress has been out and it's been laid out and all the rest of it, and it's not bustled up properly until she is doing her first dance, really. You've no idea the amount of times I have to bustle up that dress. Where, you'd have 3 or 4 girls going, I don't know what to do. The bridesmaids can't remember. They have a few drinks on them now at that stage. And they can't remember how the dress gets bustled up. And if you don't know how to do it, it does look very, very complicated because you've got all these strings and you don't know which one attaches to what. So my advice, and I know I've said this before, and I always sort of say, give that job to the bridesmaids. But if you want to give it to one of your pals to make them feel like they're doing something for you on the wedding day, get them to go to your final dress fitting with you and get the bridal designer to show them how to bustle up that dress, and take a video of it. Please take a video of it, because while you might think, oh no, I know how to do that. Yeah, I know how to do that. And she might show you 2 or 3 times and you know how to do that. If you're anything like me and you've got 150 million things on your mind the whole time, you'll forget how to do that. So definitely take a video of it. So that's kind of, an awful lot of the stuff I have to say about bridesmaids, but a couple of things I would like to say to the bridesmaids. The day really is about the bride, and she needs to make sure that you're around her for the day. it's not that you can't enjoy the wedding day. You absolutely can. But just a few of the things that you need to remember is that, and this is something that happens nearly at every wedding, her makeup, so she walks back out of the ceremony. She needs a top up on her lips. She needs her lipstick around. She will need, I would always bring like a comb. I spoke about this on Instagram the other day. I would always bring like a particular comb I have, especially if a bride has Hollywood waves. A lot of the time what happens when it comes to the hair prep in the morning, you'll get the hairdresser to sort of put all these little curls in, and then they'll sort of comb the hair out, and it will just give it a lovely wave. Well, what happens during the day with those curls, they'll go back into those individual curls, and you just need to comb them out again. So just make sure that that everything she needs on the wedding day is to hand. And that sort of bag, that bridal bag that she has with all her bits in it, an awful lot of the time, it's given to the chief bridesmaid or one of the bridesmaids. They can't walk up the aisle with the bag because they have their bouquet. So they give it to their other half, who is not going to be with them when they walk back out of the church. They're going to probably get into a car and go back to the hotel, or they might stop off for a drink on the way. And they're not thinking that bag is really important. So just make sure that bag is around the bride at all times on the wedding day. And for me, I would generally do my family photographs first, my bridal party photographs first, just so that I can let everybody go. And then I take my bride and groom for their photos. And that time for them is just so special because they're just getting to spend some time together, and it's really, really nice. And she needs her lipstick because I get them to kiss a lot, and sometimes they kiss anyway without me even asking them. So she's definitely going to need her lipstick. So I would definitely give the lipstick then to the groom or to her other half, and generally the groom puts it on his inside pocket. So just make sure that everything she needs is around her on the day. Alcohol on the wedding day, you definitely want to have a few glasses of Prosecco, but you don't want to have too many glasses of Prosecco. During the drinks reception, you don't want to be hammered. Not that happens a lot, but I have seen it happen. And you don't want the bride worrying about the bridesmaid who's had a bit too much to drink. So, have your drinks and enjoy your day. And the time to get drunk then is later on after the speeches. Do what you like. Just make sure that the bride is okay at all times. And if I have missed anything during this chat, please send me a little message on Instagram. I get so many questions sent to me on Instagram the whole time. So that's it for me for this week. And as always, if you need to contact me at all and ask me anything, just send me a little message on Jenny McCarthy 8 on my Instagram page.